Hi, my name is Dan Zeilinger, and I have been a world-traveling full-time trad jazz musician for the past 40 years. Some of my most memorable performances were on the lawn of the Edinburgh Castle, at Imperial Palace in Japan, as well as TV shows and commercials across the world. I've met many people during my career and have spent many hours on stage and off with these musicians, talking about jazz, life, and more. Some are touring musicians, some are theme park warriors, and some are casual musicians who play on the weekends with friends. I think they all have stories worthy of a movie script, and through these interviews, I'll be sharing them with you. Hi there, this is Dan Zeilinger with Trad Jazz Today. My guest today is a trumpet artist, plays clarinet and saxophone, designs trumpets and brass instruments, plays a little bit of everything, Mr. Flip Oakes. Hey, Flip.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah. So I was kind of chuckling when you sent me your bio and stuff. We've spent so much time together, but I looked it up anyway. I have it right in front of me, so I know more about you than you want me to.
Oh, wonderful.
So let's start at the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Olean, New York.
Olean, where is that in reference to New York, the city?
Well, it's 500 miles away.
Okay.
It's on the Pennsylvania border, in the western part of New York.
Okay, so northwest. Kind of.
No, southwest.
Okay.
Southwest New York State.
Got it. Is it true? Did you start on clarinet and sax?
No.
No?
No, I started playing trumpet probably at the age of 8 years old. And then my brother played clarinet, and he didn't have really any interest in it.
And your mom and dad were musicians?
Yeah, my dad was a trombone player and guitar. My mother was a vocalist.
So they needed a trumpet, and there you were.
Well, actually, what happened was on my 12th birthday, they took me to a gig where my dad was playing, and they had my horn, and I didn't know it. And so anyway, they asked me to come up and play a tune. So I went up, and the first tune I ever played, I remember it was Gartown Strutter's Ball. That's what I played with the band. And he had a cornet player that played with him, and this guy was looking for a way to retire, get out of it. And so I played that, and then I played a couple other tunes, and then the next thing I saw is this guy packed up his horn and left and waved. Like this, waved like that, and I ended up with a gig.
No!
Yeah, and ever since then I played.
The big question is did you get paid that night?
Actually, I did really well. I didn't get paid, but I got tips. I got $20 for playing I Can't Get Started, and $20 for playing Sugar Blues.
Wow, that's big money then.
Well, yeah, this was 19. Let's see, I was born in 49, so 61, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway.
Now, were you in band at Fallbrook High?
Well, this is in New York State now.
Yeah.
I didn't move to California until 64, the first time in Fallbrook, right.
Oh, so you went to Fallbrook High in California?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That came in as a sophomore.
Oh, all right. What brought you guys out to California?
Well, my folks, this is really good. On New Year's Day, 1964, in Dunkirk, New York, which is next to Fredonia, because at that time I was living in Fredonia, a train fell off the railroad tracks, and because of the snow.
Okay.
So it's a big deal, so we had to go see this. So we go see it, and we're in my dad's 56 Cadillac. No, we're in my mother's Buick, a 63 Buick, is what, a convertible. So we go see this, and my dad mentions to my mom, why don't we go pick up your car, honey, and I'll leave mine and get it serviced. And it was at Tony Mancuso's service station in Fredonia.
Well, you remember.
Oh, some things I have great memories. So anyway, so we went and picked up my mother's car, left, no, we picked up my dad's car, left my mother's car, came home and pulled underneath the carport with my dad's Cadillac. And it snowed quite a bit. And my dad says, why don't you go on top of the carport and shovel it off? Because I used to do that a couple times a week. So I got on top of the carport and the damn thing fell down and it landed on top of my dad's car. And they come running to the back door and there was nothing, I opened up the main door and there's a screen door and there was nothing but solid snow. So any event, they come and got me and I was okay. And I remember my mother saying, my dad, she says, Philip, we should move to California. And my dad was driving a long distance truck at the time during the week and home on the weekends. And my dad said, well, Patty, you sell the house and we'll move. My dad went out for 1 week, came back. Mom said, I sold the house. So that's how we ended up in California.
That's the way to do it, I tell you.
And we came out in July. We arrived on my sister Sue's birthday, which was July 23rd. And we lived in California in the Fallbrook area for 6 years.
Well, I'm surprised Fallbrook, it's such a rural area.
Well, the thing about Fallbrook was it's right next to Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
And Oceanside is close by. And my dad used to book the band. And in New York State, I could play in clubs. You didn't have to be 21. But when we came out here, you had to be 21 to play unless you played in like an Elks Club or a Moose Lodge or like the military days. And so he met Irby Mandrell,
okay,
who's Barbara's father. And Irby helped my dad get started booking the band, my dad's band, on Camp Pendleton. So when I was in high school, I was playing 3-4 nights a week out to the base. And on weekends, we were playing Elks Lodges, Elks Clubs and Moose Lodges and things like that. So I always played a lot.
Now, did you move back to New York later?
Yeah. I was in Fallbrook for 6 years. So we went back in 1970. And I agreed to help my folks move. I didn't really expect to stay. But what had happened is my uncle, or my dad's uncle actually, there's a couple months difference in age. He had a dairy farm in Franklinville, New York, and he turned the dairy farm into a golf course.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and
did you have to shovel all the cow pies out of the?
No, it's a nice golf course. It's called Issaquah Valley Country Club, and it's still going today. However, my uncle sold it many years ago, and they built a big barn-looking country club that was a bowling alley. So in the wintertime, they would bowl. In the summertime, they play golf, and I ended up tending bar and playing music there.
Okay, yeah, I was noticing that that's kind of where you started repairing instruments and things too, right?
Well, yeah. What had happened is while I was there, I met a couple guys. A guy played B3 and a drummer, and we decided to get together and see if we could go out and play the Holiday Inn circuit and Ramada Inns, things like that.
Sure.
So I left the country club and started doing that. And then after that, my mom and dad had bought a place, and I had met Joyce, and we decided to get married. So I left the group and started working at my dad's place. Same thing, tending bar and playing music, doing whatever had to be done. And then I left there. This is when the gas crunch was getting real bad and stuff. And being that was out in the country, business had gotten pretty slow and stuff. So I moved to Olean, which was, 20 miles away or so. And there's a good friend of mine who's a wonderful jazz pianist who actually put up the money and stuff and helped me get a shop started doing band instrument repair. So that's how I got into that. And getting into that was pretty simple for me because when I was in high school stuff, I also in summertime worked in body shops.
Okay.
I painted and did, body
Th-
work stuff.
So that's why every time I take you my instruments, I get Bondo on the bell.
That's right. No, so anyway, it kind of just all everything just kind of led to another. That's how that all started.
I learned so much from doing the research for this interview. Like, for example, I knew that you had done cruise ships, and you had told me about the Fripp badge, but I didn't know you did the cruise ship, that you were actually on board of the Love Boat when they were filming this stuff. That must have some stories connected with that.
Well, the first time we were the first ship, as far as I know, that ever went to Shanghai.
Okay.
And so we did a cruise called the Circle Pacific, I think it was called. And it was a 10-week cruise. And, we started in Los Angeles and then went to Hawaii, a couple ports there. And then Samoa, Apia, and Pango Pango. God, I got to really think. But anyway, we ended up in Sydney, Australia. And this was after, going to Fiji and Bora Bora and Moorea and, the Society Islands and Tahiti
Sure.
and Fiji and Auckland, New Zealand. So now we're in Sydney. And from Sydney, I guess we went to Port Moresby, New Guinea. And then we were in Singapore and then Manila. In Hong Kong. And after Hong Kong, I think then we went to Shanghai. But going into Hong Kong, they had the camera crew on and stuff. And so there's a helicopter shot as the ship is pulling into.
Right.
And there's a party going on underneath. And I had the band that was playing the party and stuff. So we got up like at 4:30 in the morning, put our tuxedos on and everything, and proceeded to drink champagne and everything. So the time the camera crew got there, the party was a real party. All the passengers that were up and crew members and everything. So anyway, that was one of the shots that was seen. Then after Hong Kong, we went into Shanghai. Then I guess after that, we went into let's see. We ended up in Yokohama, but we went to Kobe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kobe, and then Yokohama. Then came back to the Marshall Islands, and all that, back to Hawaii, and then to Los Angeles.
That was all one trip.
That was on one trip.
How long did that take?
10 weeks.
Oh, my. Now, I've played quite a few cruises, but never as a staff band. And I'm thankful that I wasn't down in the belly of the beast, staff quarters.
Well, we were a guest trio.
Okay.
That's what they called us. And so we had all the passenger accommodations and privileges and all that.
That's the way to do it.
Oh, yeah, it was great. They treated us really well. I worked for them for, I guess, about 2.5 years.
Okay. And so how did you end up in Oceanside?
Well, how I ended up in Oceanside is when we moved out in 1977 from New York State again. Joyce and I got married in 72. And then I had that repair shop that developed into a music store. And the winter of 77 in the Buffalo area in New York, and we were like, 50 miles south of that, snow was up past McDonald's Golden Arches. It was a real bad winter. And a lot of people went on business, including myself. So we saved up enough money to rent a U-Haul and headed for California. We didn't know where we were going, really. We ended up in San Diego. My mom and dad had previously moved out again. So I told them U-Haul that we were moving to Ventura because Ventura was less money to move than would have been to San Diego.
Sure.
So what had happened was I had to return. Well, we ended up in San Diego. We found a place to rent in Miramar, or Mira Mesa. So we rented a house there. Then we took the truck up to Ventura. My dad followed me up and dropped off the truck. And coming back down, we stopped in Oceanside. Because Oceanside Music, a guy by the name of Bill Hendricks owned it, who used to play clarinet in my dad's band. And he was partners with Irby Mandrell at the time when we lived in Fallbrook. Okay. So we stopped by to see Bill. And Bill says, Flip, what have you been doing? And I said, told him different things I'd done. And I recently had a repair shop that developed into a music store. And he says, you know how to do banister repair? I says, yeah. And he says, well, my repairman quit yesterday. Do you want a job? So we had rented the house in Miramar, or Mira Mesa. So I was driving back and forth. And after a couple of weeks, Bill says, I have a house in Oceanside. Do you want to rent it? So we rented that. And then I was going in Oceanside, and then I'd met a few guys in San Diego. I was going down and doing some playing, and then one guy came up to me and said, I'm working La Casa 6 nights a week, and I want to move to Florida. And would this interest you? So I said, sure. So I went and heard him play, and they asked me to sit in. And I got the gig. So about 2 weeks after moving to Oceanside, I was playing 6 nights at La Costa and doing banister repair at Oceanside Music. Everything just sort of fell into place.
Yeah.
So that's whatever your question was. That's it. That's how I ended up in Oceanside.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. I do want to know when you were playing with Mom and Dad, were they doing all types of music, or were they doing mostly lounge stuff, or how did you end up in Dixieland? Is the end question.
Well, okay. In the very beginning my dad had a Dixieland band back east, okay? But in the very beginning, because like I said, he drove long distance truck and everything, in school, I wanted to play the horn, trumpet. But I guess when they got to the Oaks, they had all the trumpet players they needed. So they offered me trombone, and I told my dad, well, they'll offer me trombone, but not trumpet. And my dad says, no, I want you to play trumpet. So he went out and bought me a cornet in a Rubank's elementary book and showed me where the note G was and what a whole note was. And he says, I'll see you next week. And so I kind of self-taught myself. And, I listened to his records, and his records were, Louis Armstrong, the Dukes of Dixieland, all that kind of stuff. And that's the music that I heard in the beginning and really, really learned to love. And I played along with the records and things. So I was pretty much self-taught.
Okay. Now, I know you know the answer to this. What was the make of your first cornet?
Oh, my God. I don't know, Dan, because...
I'm so surprised.
Well, you got to realize I was like 8 years old. And I have no idea what it was, but it was a pretty... there was nothing new. It was pretty banged up.
Now, of course, you and I met through all that work. I was getting all kinds of work in San Diego, and I still do on occasion from Larry Oakham and those guys. But what was really fascinating, and one of the things that's happened in your life since then has been, of course, your trumpet. And if you remember right, I was one of the very first guys that started promoting your Wild Thing trumpet to the general Southern California area. That was such a revelation in design, and you came up with that. I mean, we can talk more about your playing history if you like, but I thought you'd want to get into your trumpet building.
Well, yeah, whatever. I had, in the process of doing banister repair and stuff, I was always modifying horns and customizing them and changing this and changing that and moving braces. I mean, you name it, you know.
Do you remember when you made me a set of mouthpieces?
No.
They were giant French horn cups with almost no backbore. My son still uses the flugelhorn one. You gave me a set, a trumpet and flugelhorn mouthpiece of what you were using at the time. And it was just from the edge of the rim to the end of the backbore. Almost a straight shot, which it gets a great sound on flugelhorn as long as you don't go above a G on the staff.
Well, those were all hand cut.
Yeah.
I did that I did a lot of those.
I appreciate those.
And what developed from that was, I came out with a standard type of flugelhorn mouthpiece, which was deeper than anyone else's. And then Arturo was over the house. And
Here, get that for me. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's all right. Arturo was over to the house, and he saw one of these trumpet mouthpieces that I had done. And
We're talking about Arturo Sandoval, those of you who are listening.
so I showed it to him, and he played it. And what's that, a stork?
That's one that you made me.
Okay. Well, by now I have my own, my own line of mouthpieces, and I had cut. Yeah. Anyway, I made some deeper than that, and Arturo was playing in town, and he tried the mouthpiece, and he liked it, and so we went down to hear him play that night. And that's the first time I ever heard anybody play it, and it was a revelation to anybody in the audience, knowing I never heard a sound like that, including myself. On one end of the horns, you don't sound the way you sound to yourself when you're playing.
Right. That's something Bill and Bill Dendel and I talked about in regards to you, that sound.
Well, anyway, so he liked it. Matter of fact, he still plays it. That's the mouthpiece that he plays. So I came out with a model called the Extreme, and Mark Curry builds my mouthpieces for me.
Okay.
So that mouthpiece is available today, and it's called the Extreme model, and I have them in all different sizes. And there's 3 different tapers. There's a French taper, there's a large Morse taper, and a small Morse taper. And I have my standard mouthpiece, which is, like I said, is probably the deepest mouthpiece made, and this is even deeper. And
well, you realize you have the advantage of having a pretty small mouth, which makes it easy to keep those corners tight. And I was actually using Curry mouthpieces with one of the drum and bugle cords that I work with, and so I like his stuff. But your mouthpieces, Clip, I think you have to be a special person to play those.
Well, I sell a lot of them. I mean, they're on back order now, and they go all over the world.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And the flugelhorn mouthpiece is the most popular, and the Extreme flugelhorn mouthpiece is the most popular.
Well, they get a wonderful warm sound. I mean, nothing gets a warmer sound than that mouthpiece.
No, you're right. You're right. So anyway, so that's, and then the trumpet. I had a horn that I put together of parts that I was playing, and I'd gone up to Canstall.
Right.
Taking my horns with me. I had my flugelhorn and my trumpet. I called up Zig and I said, Zig, I need a bench motor. You have any bench motors? I couldn't find any. He says, I don't know. Oh, well, come on up, we'll find you something. So, and he had this big, humongous motor. And I said, well, I don't need that. I mean, I just need a little bench motor. Well, Zig, the way he says, well, I got it out for you. Get it out of here. So
that's it.
He helped me load it, and I had a little Nissan pickup at the time with a shell on it. And I put that motor back there, and I had my horns in a gig bag, a double gig bag. And as I left the factory, approaching the freeway, it's the first time I'd ever seen a red light on an entrance to a freeway. And I was barreling down that thing, and there's a red light. So I put on the brakes, and the thing comes to a halt. And I hear that motor tumble, and I think, oh no.
Oh no.
So I knew something got creamed, but I had no idea what it was. If it was a flugelhorn or if it was a trumpet. So I got home, opened up the bag. The flugel was okay, but the trumpet was, it got the bell really good. So I took it in the shop and I repaired it. And when I was finished with it, it looked pretty good, but the resonance of the horn was all different. It changed the horn. So I realized at that point I needed another horn. So I called up Zig, and he says, "Well, come on up. We'll see what we can do." So we tried some different things, and he had this bell that he had used on
It was a bugle bell, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
He called it the power bore or something.
Yeah, the old or the power bore soprano bugle, right?
So I took that bell and put it on a horn. It was a 460. He took the bell off a particular horn and put it on. He says, and he bent it in a different fashion. Um, so anyway, so I put the bell on it and I played it, and it played out of tune. And I says, "Well, look, I'll take it home," and I took a couple other horns of his home too. And I said, "Let me work with it and see." So I did valve alignment and a bunch of stuff to it. And then the horn played wonderfully in tune, and it was pretty much like what I have, similar to what I have now, or had. And so I took it back to get it plated because the bell was brass and the rest of it had been silver plated before. So he says, "Well, we got to put a name on it so I can identify the horn in case something should happen to it, and you got to know what it is." So he says, "I'm not putting my name on it."
That's it.
Zig says, "I'm not putting my name on it." I says, "Fine, put my name on it." And the horn was really boisterous and everything, and or it could be if you leaned into it. And I says, "I'll call it Killer." So I put the name Killer on it, and so I played that horn for, I don't know, a year, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I sold it a couple of times, but it keeps coming back. So, but during one of the times when I sold it, I called up Zig. I said, "Zig, I need some horns." And he says, "Well, come on up." So I went up. I started describing to him what I wanted. I wanted a round tuning slide. I wanted the bell in a certain fashion. I just explained the horn. He says, "Well, go talk to Jim." So I talked to Jim and explained to Jim what I wanted. And so I built the prototypes. I had 3 of them. And I brought them home and had different guys play them. And everybody had the same comment, including John Wilds from the San Diego Symphony. John came up and played it. He says, "This thing's really wild." And everybody said the same thing. So I thought, well, tongue in cheek, I'll call it Wild Thing. Flip Oaks Wild Thing. And when I went back to the factory and told Zig what I was going to do, he about, lost it. Wild Thing, yeah, well, it was all tongue in cheek, and it was before the internet. So, and I never, ever dreamt about having a horn that would be on the internet. So we called it Flip Oaks Wild Thing, and that's how the horn started. And I went out and played a festival up in Reading, and during the gangbang at the end when everybody's playing, a couple of guys just put their horns down and looked at me and said, "What the hell's that?" And I passed the horn around, and the next thing you know, when I got back to San Diego from that weekend, I got a call from a guy by the name of Don Thibodeau, who's my first customer. He came up and he bought one of them. And then Lou Mitchell, he bought one. He bought the second one. And then, so the third one, I called up Zig and says, "I'm out of horns." And he says, "Well, if you're going in the trumpet business, you're going to have to, you can't order 3 trumpets at a time." So I ordered 12 of them. And that was the beginning. And and then when the internet took off and everything.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably remember, but I met Zig in '72 because he was my marching instructor in drum and bugle corps and I marched between Ziggy and Jack for a long time. And
Yeah.
Zig used to run old. That's when he was still working for F.E. Olds in Fullerton.
Uh-huh.
And so I actually had a set of Olds Customs in the 4-pack salesman set, and he ran all kinds of horns by me. I couldn't believe it when Cancel shut down. That it just flabbergasted me.
It's a giant loss. They did so much for so many other manufacturers and stuff. I don't think people realize how big they really truly were.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's not big in the sense of a lot of people working there because of the economy, but the history and the equipment that they had and the ability to build, the ability to
Yeah, I mean,
whatever I wanted, he could have done.
he made parts for almost every horn on the planet. You know,
Yes, he did.
there'd be a third valve slide or something, and it was something they produced at Zig's factory.
Yeah, it was a huge loss. And
Which
anyway,
which led to your Wild Thing horns. You have the Wild Thing proper. And then you had, I think the next thing was the cornet, wasn't it, or was it the flugelhorn?
okay, started off with the B flat trumpet called Wild Thing, and then it went to. You're right, it was the cornet. No, it was the C trumpet.
Oh, well, that's right. How did you feel when classical guys started using it?
Well, what happened is my B flat customers calling me up saying, "I want a C trumpet." They liked the B flat and they wanted a matching C. So that's as simple as that. And the classical guy, I mean, I had some great players. One in particular who would take it to different halls and churches and whatever, and compared it to all the real big names, and said that the horn didn't take a backseat to anybody, including the guy up in Portland. So I was really thinking that this was going to go really well. I did a NAM show, not a NAM show, but a ITG in 2003 in Fort Worth, Texas, and one of the guys from the LA Phil played the horn and thought it was the C trumpet. Well, he said, "This is great. Can you lay 4 or 5 of them on me for the LA Phil?" I said, "No, I can't do that. I can't be giving out white horns." And well, the guys in Japan could, but I couldn't. So anyway, so I never really pushed the C trumpet too much because it's those guys are so hung up on a couple brands and big names, and everybody else is an outsider, and there's no way to.
Yeah, it's true.
There's no way to fight it, So that was the C trumpet. Then after that came the cornet. I got an order for a cornet, and so developed the American model. And the first one went to New Zealand. The guy wanted a trumpet receiver on it, mouthpiece receiver.
Okay.
So that's a whole different thing. So we did that. Then we had some American style cornets made, and then did the little short crook, shepherd's crook.
Right.
That became really popular. And all in all, I know we sold well over probably 1,400 horns.
Yeah. Now, didn't Arturo start with your flugelhorn as his first Wild Thing?
No. Arturo started the flugelhorn he was playing, like in Flight to Freedom, on that album. That was a Cancel 1525.
Okay.
That I designed in 1986 for Zig. And that's the horn that I was playing. And Arturo had, Arturo, the night I met him, it was June 21st, 2007. A friend of mine taking one of my horns down for him to play. And he called me up and he wanted to meet with me. So Joyce and I went down to meet with him after He played a place called the Anthology at the time. And on my website, Joyce came in the green room with a little Sony camera, that did videos. This is before the iPhones and all that. And she videoed Arturo playing a horn. And then, within I mean, you can look this up and see it. Arturo plays the horns for maybe 2 minutes and says, say no more, that horn's mine, how much I owe you. And I said, let me think about it. And he says, good, you think. So, and then Flugelhorn came up, and that's when he came to the house that night. And he was here till about 1 in the morning or so, and then I drove him back down to San Diego. And, but the first was a silver-plated Wild Thing. And he used that the following week. I mean, well, it's what he played for a long time. But he played that particular horn in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where they recorded a video called Live.
Okay.
And that's the horn he's playing. And after he got back to, at the time, he was living in Coral Gables, Florida. I get a phone call from he and his wife, and they're giggling and laughing. He's playing. And he says, I love the horn. He says, but I need another one. He says, I got to have a backup. And I said, sure. He says, but this time I want a gold-plated one. I says, fine. So we made him a gold-plated one, and I had it all engraved, hand engraved with his name on it and everything. And then I gave him that horn. And he played it for years.
Yeah.
And he still plays it, But what happened is, I made such a on the internet. I came on Trumpet Herald in different places, and told the story and mentioned everybody how friendly he is and approachable he is, because he is. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I haven't met him yet, but
Oh, he's a great guy, and so everybody was building him a horn and sent him to him. And he's not in a bad way. He's like a big kid. I mean, he's just loves to have fun and live life. I mean, he's got 1,300 cigar lighters. He had 5 motorcycles, and I can't tell you how many cars. But the point is, so they built him a horn and he'll play it. And many times he's presented with a horn at a concert or something. So he'll play it.
sure.
So now he's got a whole collection of horns. And
So tell me about your new brand. Tell me about the Fusion and what's going on with that.
well, that's something that's made, it's been made in Asia, it's made in China. And I was approached by, Vance Hugh?
No.
Well, I was approached by this person, and he wanted to know if I'd wanted some horns made in China. And so I met with him. He had some, and turned out somebody had taken one of my horns over there. Now, they didn't copy it, but they have something similar to the Wild Thing. And they'd make it for me if I wanted it. So I ordered 12 horns.
They probably just copied the Canstable Coliseum. I'm kidding, but
No, not at all. Not at all. No, it's nothing like that.
I am kidding.
Anyway, so I had some flugels made, and a trumpet with a 37 style bell on it, and then the big bell, and the big bell I call the Commander, and the 37 bell I call the Bolt, and then the flugelhorn I call the Champ.
Those are multiple bore also, right?
The trumpets are, yeah, 469s is what they come out of that.
Okay. Are its characteristics similar to the Wild Thing?
Well, actually, the bell's broader than the Wild Thing, so it's the bighorn is darker, it's fuller. It's actually a nice horn. It's really hard for me to get behind it. Mentally, I'm having a problem because I took such pride in American made,
Sure.
made in America and everything, and the Wild Thing truly was my whole deal. All of it was, and this is a concept. This is a horn, the concept of the Wild Thing that honestly, you can't take any credit for it.
Now, didn't BAC buy a lot of the tooling from Cancel?
They did. They showed up with 10 semis,
Whew.
but they didn't get everything. Mark had sold some stuff previous to that to different people.
I understand Troy took some of it, a little bit of it, but
He may have. I don't know. I haven't talked to Troy. I haven't really talked to anybody since that happened.
I tell you what, let's get in a little bit back into your career here as a player, and let's talk about some of the groups that that we've crossed paths with. I know that are you currently still doing Jazz Party with Tom Kubis and Ryan and those guys?
Okay, here's once a month. I have a friend who has a property about 4.5 acres over in Vista, and it's a real nice property. It has a pond on it. Has I believe it's called a talapa, and it has a stage. And he's always wanted to have concerts there. So he and I put together. So what I do is I put together a band.
Uh huh.
Sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's Dixieland, and sometimes it start off as a quartet. Then I went to a quintet. And I call it the Flip Oaks Jazz Party Quartet, Jazz Party Quintet, whatever. And when it became a quintet, well, I started calling Tom Kubis. So Tom would play with us. Jason Warner, he plays piano. And
Sure.
I've been through a couple different bass players. Brian McConnell started, then Brian moved to North Carolina. Then Jim DeGilio was playing, and Mike Massessa has been playing drums with me. Now, anytime these guys can't do it, we get different subs. But that's pretty much the rhythm section.
Uh huh.
Joe Brown comes in sometimes, plays guitar with us. We've had also Michael, great guitar player, plays with Tom Kubis all the time. Teaches at Long Beach.
That's okay.
I'm having problems remembering names.
Me too.
It's part of the age, I guess.
Nah.
Well, God, I wish I could. Michael Higgins
Well, there we go on guitar.
on guitar. And then when it's a Dixieland band, I have Larry Oakman play clarinet, and on trombone, Les Benedict.
I'm doing an interview with Les here soon.
Oh, Les is a wonderful. And then we've had also Art Drain come in, you know. And so anyway, so it's my typical deal. I hire the guys. Dave and I pay them. We make sure everybody gets paid. Sometimes we take a loss, and sometimes we don't. But
Yeah.
in the smaller group, it does. The Dixieland band always draws a bigger crowd.
Wow.
So it seems like we're doing more of that than we are the quartet or quintet. And then sometimes, sometimes like Tom comes in as the piano player.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Tom to come onto the show too. I've known Tom since '72, so.
Well, Tom and I started playing together when I graduated high school in '67.
When he was a George Probert clone.
He had a group called the First Setters at Santa Ana at the society up there.
Right.
And so I went up and played, and I ended up playing with the First Setters and playing with Tom. And I was 18 at the time, I guess. Probably Tom was about 16. So I've known Tom for a long time. And then on occasion, my dad we would need somebody, and I called Tom. Tom would come down to Fallbrook and
He's marvelous.
spend a weekend with us and stayed with us. Tom's a great guy.
Yeah, I was so happy the year we actually got him up at Mammoth. You were there for that. And that was nice. Another band you and I have crossed paths with is the Beverly Hills Unlisted.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I still play with them.
Yeah, I hear Conrad's having get-togethers at his house.
He does. He does. He does. He hires the whole band. It's he's a great guy. He's one
Of course, I was subbing for Westy, but I got to do that several times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When we were playing at Lunaria years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a heck of a band. In fact, I've sent off a email trying to get Conrad to come on and do an interview too. He's so much fun.
Oh, he is. He is. He's a real kick. He's 92 years old now, and he's like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he's great. So, what else do you have going on, playing wise? Are you,
Well,
you know,
well,
well, other than of course the fact none of us are playing right now, but
yeah, well, of course, years ago I started off in the out here in the mid '80s playing with Bill Daniel and the South Market Street Jazz Band.
right, you were one of the original members, weren't you?
No, Jerry Fenwick was the original trumpet player.
Oh God, I remember Jerry.
But he became unavailable, and they hired me. And for a while, they used two trumpets, and Jerry would play second. He's an arranger and everything. He had a better idea of that than I did.
High chops like crazy.
Oh, yeah. Then with that band, I would play other things too. I played some trombone when Bill was singing, or whatever, and I played clarinet with, I'd play different instruments to mix it up a bit. And then Jerry left the band, and then I was just the full-time trumpet player. And then after that, I went around and I played with I got calls from different festival bands needing subs.
Well, you did a misbehaving stint after I left.
Yeah, I played trumpet for a bit, and I played clarinet when they needed.
Right, you played clarinet when I was with them at the Lake Havasu.
Okay.
I think.
I remember doing a thing in Solvang with them too. I played clarinet.
Right. And you're a great clarinet player. It astonished me, guys who can do both reeds and brass. My embouchure never worked that way.
Well, I tried to make one embouchure fit all, is what I did. I just simply took a trumpet embouchure and dropped my jaw. And I'm not playing clarinet anymore these days. My thumb gives me such problems I can't have a hard time holding it.
Okay.
But I still play some tenor.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like you said, nobody's playing. But I try to practice a couple hours a day or an hour a day anyway. Keep my trumpet chops up somewhat. And of course, after all that, I went and played a number of years with the Titan Hot 7.
Right. They're out of Tennessee, right?
Yeah, Nashville, right.
Yeah. How did you end up getting hooked up with them?
Well, they needed a trumpet player in 2006, and they called me. They called Brian Shaw. They called Randy Reinhardt. I guess Corey played him a few times.
Yeah,
They were sort of auditioning every guy when they hire him, before they made a commitment. But in 2006, and I remember it was on my birthday. We were playing in Denver. They asked me if I wanted the seat, so I started playing with them, and up to just recently. And
I have a friend who was a swing dancer in Arizona, and you guys had done the Arizona Festival as Titan. Yeah. And I got a phone call from her just raving out about the band, not knowing that I knew you. So, yeah, your legacy continues, Flip.
Well, it was a fun band to play with, I'll tell you that. It was a good band, and it was a band that I led it in a musical sense. They just followed me around. We would chorus after chorus after chorus and change keys, and they were good. Really well. And then at the very end, I ended up leading the band. But getting work. The problem is with so much travel,
Yeah.
because we had Jerry and Ike and Danny from Nashville, and then we had Bill already playing trombone, and Bill's from Florida, and we had. It was hard to book the band because of the cost of the travel and everything, and then having to get in there a day earlier, just to guarantee that we'd be there on the day to start because of the airlines
Right.
canceling flights and people missing connections, and
Yeah, there was, as you know, there was a time there where I was doing like upwards more than 40 flights a year when I was running around with 10th Avenue, and that kind of stopped right after the 9/11 incident. So I know that the airports became a lot more difficult since then. One of my favorite gigs of all time was the Wild Animal Park with you, me, and Westy.
yeah,
And Bill, and my God, I think we only played about 10 minutes every night because we were so busy trying to crack each other up. That was a heck of a gig.
that was a fun job.
I miss Westy a lot.
Yeah, everybody does. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I talked to Sharon about 3 days ago and touched bases with her. But yeah, a big loss of the community in general.
Yeah.
So we're getting about ready here to wind things up. What anything you want to plug? What's your last thoughts? Where can people find your music?
Well, I never did a CD or anything. I have my own YouTube channel.
Well, let's fix your CD thing.
What's that?
Let's fix that CD thing, and once we get out of all this, we have to do that.
Well, maybe at some point I'll do that. I had some health issues that I've been trying to. I'm getting over them now.
Yeah, thank Joyce she gave all of us an update as you were going through that, and you were in my thoughts the entire time.
Well, that's great. But since then, I really appreciate that. But a year ago, I went in I was hoping for a couple stents, and it ended up being double bypass surgery. So they had to undo everything they had done, cut through all the scar tissue and everything, and remove the steel plate, the 8 screws, redo the deal, and this is more tender this time.
I would think with all your expertise, you could have just worked on it yourself.
Oh, and then since then, in February, I had bypass surgery on my right leg. In April, I had bypass surgery on my left leg. So I've had 3 major surgeries within the year. But now I'm starting to come around again.
Yeah, I wish our bodies could keep up with our spirit. I actually went through a period where I had found out that I had had 2 strokes and a heart attack and never knew it. So.
Oh wow! Yeah, well, yeah. I'm glad you're doing well.
But they were minor, obviously. Although I'm not quite as charming as I used to be now. But. Well, listen, Flip. This has been fun. I want to try and wrap this up, but I want to give you a chance to plug your horns or plug whatever you'd like to plug.
Well, it's thank you, Dan. I would like to get into playing more, if it comes back.
I'll call you if I have a gig.
As to the, the wild thing, the ones that are out there. I don't believe they'll ever come back.
Are you completely sold out of those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll sold out immediately.
I thought I'd ask.
And then, but I had some other models too. I had one called Inspiration, a model then.
And Celebration.
Celebration.
Right.
I had another B flat called the Legend. That was a French Besson.
Now, was that the same as Zig's French Besson?
It's similar to the horn he made for Boozy Hawks back.
Okay, because I had a one of Zig's Bessons, and I ended up selling to Matt Franke. So.
Yeah, well, this is a 460 bore. I needed a 460 bore, so we did that horn and made a few changes on it and stuff. But it's called the Legend. I have 3 of those still in stock, and the horns made overseas. I have them. It's
What's the price point on? What's the price point on the Fusion?
Oh, jeez. Why you ask me these hard questions? Let's see. The Commander and lacquer is 1695, and silver it's 1895.
Okay.
The Bolt, which is the 37 bell, same horn but with the 37 bells, 1395 and 1595. And the flugelhorn is 1395 and 1595.
Okay.
And they're good horn. I keep trying to find fault with them, just because I did my horn, and as far as I'm concerned, that horn is flawless.
Sure.
And these before you called, I was playing one of the fusions, and it plays good. It's a nice horn. And I guess if I didn't still have my wild, I have 4 personal horns like that. And if I didn't have them, I guess I probably would play the fusion, because there's nothing else I've found that I would want to play. And yet it's hard for me to
wrap your head around it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a mental thing than anything. Who would ever think, but I sold one. I went to Belgium. Somebody buys a horn from the United States that's made in China, goes to Belgium.
Right.
I mean, the freight was a lot, And I get these nicest emails from these folks and stuff. Her husband or boyfriend, he has a wild thing. She wanted one and couldn't supply her with one. So she gets the fusion, she gets the Commander, the big horn, and she loves it.
Good.
And her boyfriend, or husband, I don't remember if they're married or not. But anyway, he likes it too. So that's great. I haven't sold all that many of them, but I haven't pushed. Look at with the health thing I've had. I haven't had the energy to do it.
But now we've talked about it on YouTube, and you're going to get orders hand over fist starting tomorrow. I mean, I'm kidding, but
well, it's with Zig, if I needed horns, I just went to the factory or I called them, and in a matter of weeks, I had what I needed, and they were made exactly the way I wanted.
right.
And if there was to be a problem, I just drive up and they take care of it. When these horns are coming from where they're coming from, I haven't found any faults with them or anything. But you got to place an order way in advance.
It's a longer drive.
It's a much longer drive. Trying to speak to them is like 2 dogs barking. So, it's kind of hard for me to get behind this. I don't want to sound negative. The product is good. I'm happy to have it, but I don't have the energy that I.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, I'm 70 years old now, and it's hard for me to want to get started over again. So.
Yeah, we've been there and done that. Well, listen, Flip, this has been fun. I'm so glad you agreed to do this. I miss you and Joyce, and I miss playing with you guys. Not as much as I miss you as people, however.
Well, that's and what you say about the festivals and stuff. Joyce and I said this very same thing. She, with the festivals and doing cruises and stuff, Joyce is always with me, and she's part of the band, part of the musical family. And that's what it is, a musical family. You go to these different festivals, you meet all the guys, you sit down, have a drink together, you eat together. It's like a reunion. So
well, you guys were always very kind to me, and it means a lot.
We're all like family,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sir. I'm going to log off now, and we will edit this up and cut out your bathroom break. And
Really?
sure, and unless you want me to keep it in, it's
All right, Dan.
all right. So you take care now.
Yep. All right. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye now.
Thank you all for watching Trad Jazz Today with Dan Zeilinger. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Videos come out every Wednesday and Friday.